All right, let's check it out. Welcome into Rob Schmitt Tonight. I'm Bob Brooks. Rob, he has the night off. So if I had to guess, you probably know where you were when the assassination attempt on President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania happened. You still remember how you felt, who you contacted and called immediately after. Just about everything that you did in those next few moments, it is seared in your mind. It is now the 2-year anniversary of that event, which went on to change the course of the campaign for President Trump and really our country. For me, I remember it pretty vividly because there I am. 2 years ago, I was there, sitting on the media riser just about 30, 40 yards away when President Trump was speaking and pointing to that immigration graph directly in front of him. Now, being from that part of the country, I was there to talk about the issues of Western Pennsylvania, why the people in that part of the country feel the way they do, why thousands and thousands of people out that way and around the country show up to his rallies, because that area has been extremely hit hard by loss of manufacturing and everything else that goes with it. Personally, I thought President Trump was killed. We all kind of hit the deck. I lost my line of sight to the president. I kind of ducked down. But then I heard all the shots. The shooter got off so many shots. Corey Comparator, who was sitting behind Trump, he was killed. I thought there was no way that Trump could have survived. I remember looking back behind the media riser. There were some people in there. They were hunched over, holding each other, crying, because no one really knew if there was more than one gunman or what exactly was going on. Were we under attack by some kind of militia? Nobody had any idea. All right, but then the shooting, all of a sudden it stopped, came to a stop. And then this happened.
Wait.
I mean, I don't, words can't really describe what was going through my mind when he popped up and gave that fist pump. You know, what a relief that he was alive for so many reasons. Number one, just him as a person, right? You never want to see anyone be killed because of their politics, let alone the litany of chaotic events that would have thrown and thrust our country into. And that moment then went on to produce one of the most iconic images in American history. And that, of course, was Trump giving the fist pump to the crowd with the Secret Service draped around him and the American flag in the black background with blood running down the side of his face. What a moment. I jumped like 3 feet in the air when he popped up. I just was so relieved. You'd think that would be a uniting moment, right? That despite your political differences in America, political assassination is unacceptable. That we could rally around the fact, all of us, that we do not tolerate that here. That the president's survival, as well as survival of other attempts, could rally the country around the common thought that we fight each other here hard politically, very hard. We don't try and kill each other, and then we certainly don't celebrate it. And then taking it even a step further, we don't continue to use the rhetoric that likely led to this kid from outside of Pittsburgh, 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, to do what he did. Now, the investigation into the gargantuan security failure is another conversation. We're going to get into that. But do you remember the kind of stuff the left was saying? And as I'm still going to show you, they still are saying what took us to that moment. It was stuff like this.
He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Like Trump, Hitler was also viewed as a clown, a goon who could be kept in line.
He's deliberately inviting the criticism that he is behaving like a Hitler or Mussolini-style fascist.
Oh, funny enough, we know for sure that the left really doesn't care about all that Nazi stuff because they are, in fact, the party of the Nazis now. And yes, I said that. And you know where I'm going with this. Because they are the ones who supported and then elected to be their candidate in Senate in Maine. That is Graham Platner, and he is the guy who had the Nazi tattoo on his chest for 20 years. So, yeah, that was nothing more than incendiary rhetoric that motivated the likes of Thomas Crooks, Ryan Ralph down in West Palm Beach to do what they did. And then on top of that, afterwards, the rhetoric really didn't stop. Here's more of what we heard just after the fact that happened.
They understand that we have a Timu Hitler in the White House right now that thinks that he is going to become the dictator of the United States.
The words that Donald Trump used today, that's Hitler-esque. That is right out of Nazi Germany.
He is paving the way to become a Vladimir Putin or to become an Adolf Hitler.
I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things, but this wannabe Hitler for sure.
Hitler was duly elected.
That's right.
Right? Trump is telling us what he intends to do.
See, that happened again after the fact. All those sound bites came after the assassination attempt. And then fast forward to today, more recently, to contrast the MAGA movement, right, to counteract it, the America First movement, what do you got to be? Well, you got to go down the road of whatever is against America First, and that would be anti-American or America Last. And that is exactly where President Trump and MAGA has sent the only part of the Democrat Party that has any momentum right now, down the road of America Last, or just destroy our country from within, right? Now, I know that sounds kind of extreme, but that's what these far-left Marxists, Democrat Socialists of America people, this is what they are saying they are going to do. Now, the official page for Republicans on X posted this mashup of DSA members talking about doing exactly that.
And, you know, we have a unique responsibility to act from the heart of empire, the belly of the beast. The most important thing that we can do is take that empire down from within.
Our role ultimately is to facilitate our own empire's failure in ways that we can, ultimately to overthrow our own empire.
U.S. imperialism is not a thing that can be reformed away. It has to be overthrown through revolutionary struggle.
So, you know, when you hear that, you know, when I say it seems like they want to destroy the country, it doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore, now does it? Because that's what they say. If you search the DSA website, chock full of Marxist contents, there's the search. Here in New York, this woman, Daria Lisa Chevalier, whatever her name is, won the New York 13th District primary. She is going to Congress. And she founded the group that helped destroy parts of Columbia University. That group posted this to their Instagram page. Quote, "We are Westerners fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization." Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York, said this in public.
We came here to remake this state in the image of our people.
That is the current mayor of New York City. That is crazy to me. But he got elected because there are enough people convinced now that what the DSA promotes is actually a good idea. That's why they won, continue to win. And that is destroying the country. I mean, they say that. So do current sitting members of Congress. Here's Democrat Rep. Rashida Tlaib.
Look at this room, mother. We ain't going anywhere. Political structures that I have to work in, that we all are surrounded by, was built on slavery and genocide and rape and oppression. Real change doesn't come from the cowards and warmongers in Congress. It comes from the streets. It comes from all of us mobilizing and seizing the power to resist and fight back. Gaza is the compass in this country.
Gaza is the compass in our country. This stuff is Looney Tunes. I got some more. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal on CNN.
I just first want to ask you to respond to what President Trump said. His quote was, "They use the word social democrat because it sounds so nice, but it's really communism you're talking about."
I mean, he is ridiculous, but the reason he's using communism is because he knows socialism is really popular. So he's trying to turn this into communism.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think the president has a point. Here's what another one of those socialists has to say that the Republicans went on to highlight.
To build a mass movement that can use the leverage of workers to hit the kill switch on American imperialism here within the American empire.
You hit the kill switch. So, yeah, when you say that you're a Democrat socialist, I just think you want to end America as we know it based on what I just showed you. Can you blame me? I don't think you can. You know, when the Graham Platners, the Mamdanis, and his cohorts all win these primary elections, I personally don't think they really want to have a debate on spending. I don't. I think what they want to do is remake the state in the image of their own people, whatever the heck Mamdani said. While he was wearing a bandana covering his face. Looks like jihad. But when you put it all into perspective, it kind of makes sense, I think. President Trump has created the most America First movement of our lifetime. So you either got on board with that or you went totally off the reservation into the anti-America thought process, because that's the only place left for them to go. When Butler happened 2 years ago, it was a defining moment. Most likely that motivated enough people to put him over the top. I believe if they had an election anytime after that, he wins like a landslide, just like he went on to do. But also was a turning point for Democrats. At least that is how I'm seeing it, because now they are putting up candidates who clearly hate everything this country stands for. And now those candidates are winning their primaries. And to do so, they are unseating the incumbents that are already there. Ben Ferguson, host of the Ben Ferguson Show, joins me. Amy Robbins, host of the Amy Robbins Show as well. Pleasure to have you both on. Amy, I know you listen to that. Let's talk about it. Just the state of where, since Butler, the left has gone. And I say it is total, I don't know what to call it, destroy America. You heard what the DSA member said. Your thoughts?
Bob, this is completely disturbing, every one of those clips that you played us, and it should terrify every American-loving patriot in this country, because what's the old saying? When somebody shows you who they are, believe them, and that is exactly what the Democrat Socialists of America are doing. This is a group that is rooted in Marxism, and they are waging war on the very America that our founders built. I mean, you can go to their website. I actually encourage everyone to go read the Workers Deserve More agenda that this group is putting out there, because they want to do everything from dismantle certain law enforcement agencies, starting with Border Patrol. Then they want to give amnesty to every single illegal. They want to have universal suffrage, which is going to allow everyone, including non-citizens, to vote. Then they want to dismantle the government system that we have set up. They want to get rid of the Supreme Court, the presidency, the Senate. They want to have this all-powerful Congress. I mean, this is just raw socialist power, and it's not progress. Bob, this is literally a radical plot to destroy the Constitution and the Republic that the founders gave us.
Amy, I know that some people may be watching, or not, most likely they agree with us, because I don't know how else you don't, Ben. When we play all those clips and just straight up say, okay, look, this is what they are talking about, I don't know how to come to any other conclusion.
Yeah, go to the Democratic Socialist Party, their website, and if you actually cut and paste what they say their agenda is, throw it into any AI, it will come back, by the way, not as socialism. It will come back as communism about 90% of the time. If you look at what they say, it is communism. It is not socialism. And then if you look at what they say, it straight up goes to Marxism. And so this idea, and this is why I do not trust the Democratic Party. I will never trust them. They will lie to you. They'll say, oh, we're just Democrats. Then a couple years later, they're like, well, we're socialist Democrats, but we're not communists. And then when you look at their website and you look at their own words and you put it into the internet and you say, what is this? It will tell you it is communism. That is what it is. It's rooted in Marxism, because what do they believe? They don't like police. They don't like the military. They don't like law and order. They do not believe that American citizens are priority number one, right? Because they want to destroy this country and then fundamentally remake it into what they believe it should look like, which is we all work for the government. They're all in charge of us. They tell us what to believe. They tell us what to do. They tell us what to think. So for a party, by the way, that's obsessed with Adolf Hitler, they sure look a lot like what the Nazis set up in Germany, if you really want to talk about history.
No, they love it. And Ben, you said these aren't just Democrats. The last thing I said in that monologue was they are unseating incumbents in order to make this happen, Amy.
Yeah.
And that screams volumes to me. It's not good enough just being a regular old Democrat, you know, just kind of blue collar for the working people. They're saying to those people, you got to go, we're in charge.
Yeah, well, this has been the problem with the Democrats. They've had an identity crisis for quite a long time, and it's now the group that actually has a mission that people are starting to listen to. And we can't forget that socialism sounds great on paper. When we have an education system that has completely removed the historical teachings of the dangers of socialism and communism, of course we're going to have a generation that rises up and says, man, that sounds really wonderful on paper, but socialism is great until you run out of other people's money, and then comes the breadlines, then comes the tyranny, the fascism, and then the death of tens of millions of people. And we have an entire generation of population in this country that does not know that. And that is why we have such an opportunity right now in the Republican Party to start fighting these ideas in that arena of ideas before the midterms, or, you know, we're going to lose this country.
Amy, I agree. I would say if there's anything Republicans could do, it's to further that message and really hammer all those points you just made home. I think we could do that a little bit better. Ben Ferguson, Amy Robbins, got to leave it there. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Okay, Congressman Carlos Gimenez, member of the House Homeland Security Committee, joins us now. Congressman, pleasure to see you. Let's talk about it. Your committee conducted the investigations into the Butler assassination attempt. Are you happy? You satisfied, Congressman, of where we're at? Just a gargantuan security failure. Talk about it.
No, not really happy. I don't think that some things have changed, but I think that what you saw a couple of months ago there at the Correspondents' Dinner kind of showed to me that things maybe not have changed the way they should have, as quickly as they should have. Security breach there was pretty big, and there were some things done that shouldn't have been done, and some things that could have avoided that. So I'm not sure that the Secret Service is actually doing everything that they should be doing. Maybe it's because it takes a while to change the culture, but again, I'm not entirely pleased with everything I've seen.
Well, Congressman, I don't think any of us like to hear that, especially after Butler, after what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, after what happened with Ryan Ruth down in West Palm Beach. What's the holdup? Why haven't they got to where they need to be, to where you feel satisfied about how we're protecting our leaders in the President of the United States?
You know, I'm not inside the inner workings of the Secret Service or the department. You know, the bureaucracies are large, but again, that comes from, everything comes from the top. And so I'm not directly trying to, say, criticize the leader of the Secret Service or DHS, but, that security breach at the Correspondents' Dinner showed me that there's a lot of work to be done. Look, it's impossible to completely safeguard the president. There's always going to be risks or things that he's going to do that put him in a more precarious position, but the Secret Service should account for what the things that they should account for. There are some things that you just can't account for, but in the case of the Correspondents' Dinner, there was a lot of things that they should have accounted for that they didn't. And so, again, I don't criticize lightly. It's not, and I understand, that's not perfect. I was mayor of Miami-Dade County. I was a sheriff of Miami-Dade County, and we do the best we can. But I also know that certainly in Butler, I mean, that was a real complete failure of the system. Very basic stuff that wasn't done, and I'm wondering if the lessons of Butler and what happened at the golf course, have been learned, and if the lessons, of what happened at the Correspondents' Dinner has been learned. It's only going to take one time for an assassin to be successful. And
that's
then,
a great point.
The president will, and the president's going to be, the president is in grave danger. I mean, there's a lot of people that want to do harm to our president. Secret Service has to account for that.
Congressman, real quick before we go, you're in South Florida. You know the plight of communism, socialism, whatever you want to call it, better than most people here. Talk about, tell the audience what you'd like to say real quick, if you can, about the DSA and these kind of candidates getting into office now.
Well, the DSA, I think, is they're actually more dangerous than the normal run-of-the-mill communists, because I think they're also fascists and they're anti-Semites, wrap themselves around this Marxist ideology, which makes them really, really dangerous. And if you look at their platform, adding the Supreme Court, getting rid of the Senate, no president, et cetera, that's pure Marxist, communist ideology. And I was actually born in Cuba, had to flee with my parents when I was 7 years old, and one of the reasons I had to flee was my parents saw me being indoctrinated by the regime at the young age of 6 and 7, and so I look back now at my homeland, and Cuba used to have the second highest standard of living in 1959. Now the standard of living is below Haiti. They've completely destroyed the island nation. Bernie Sanders says, oh, well, they have great literacy and they have health care and education and all that. Yeah, great. The health care in Cuba, yeah, it's free to everybody, but you get what you pay for, which is nothing. And so everybody has to flee Cuba in order to get the basic necessities that they have. Look, when you have a country that actually has to imprison its people, doesn't let them out, and they actually have to jump into the ocean, right, in order to find freedom, and then you've got people here telling us this is what we should be emulating. They're insane, but they're not insane. They're actually evil, okay, and they want to impose that system on us. They want to tell us what to do. They don't want freedom because there's some sick people. And so, Bernie, you can go where, okay? I have zero respect for that man. Somebody that actually went to the Soviet Union on his honeymoon, saw what it was like, and then comes back here and tells us that's what we should be like. Yeah, sure. Yeah, man. you're a snake oil salesman, and I want no part of it. And one other thing I'm going to say. My parents brought me here to the United States. What I'm trying to do in Congress is I'm going to be fighting against these people.
And I know you will.
I don't want my children or grandchildren one day that I'll have to say, hey, we got to get out of here. The question will be, where are we going? All right?
I know you will.
Because this is the land of the free. This is the last beacon of hope for freedom in the world.
We got to run. I appreciate that, and I'm so glad you were here to say all that tonight. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Good seeing you, too.
All right, remembering and honoring the late, great Senator Lindsey Graham. That is coming up next.
People can't stop talking about Rob Schmitt.
I trust the news from Rob Schmitt every single day.
They say he's no BS.
No BS. No liberal crap.
He hates liars.
The honesty and up-to-date news and none of the fake news.
He tells it better than anyone.
Everything is straight, legit, real news.
He's your voice.
Rob Schmitt, 7 p.m. Wouldn't miss it.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt tonight on Newsmax.
I love Newsmax.
Artificial intelligence is transforming healthcare. This breakthrough technology is empowering researchers to discover new treatments and cures. AI is helping us manufacture smarter medical devices, and it's going to extend and improve the quality of our lives. AI is transformative, and it can be life-saving. China wants to dominate AI and surpass the U.S. in modernizing healthcare. America must lead. America must innovate. America must win. Let's protect our competitive edge.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
You thought you were booking a relaxing vacation, but hackers just booked a ticket into your private life. Your passport, your birth date, your identity exposed. PCmatic, cybersecurity built by Americans for America.
Satellite internet that's fast, reliable, and installed by professionals. For work, for play, for every day. Available anywhere you call home. Visit Viasat.com/internet now or call 833-8Viasat to sign up today.
At Ancestry, we believe every question about the past is a spark. And when curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. How is your family woven into 250 years of U.S. history? Find out now at Ancestry.
People always ask me how I stay ready, how I stay consistent, how I lock in when it actually counts, again and again. It's the work you do before anyone's watching. They think I must be on something. Maybe. It's pure, it's potent, it's all me. Something that never lets me down. Armra. I'm on it.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through.
It's an instant classic there. One of the defining moments of South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham's career. At that explosive confirmation hearing for Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh back in 2018, accusing Democrats of coordinating a smear campaign. And who could forget this iconic photo, Lindsey smirking as anti-Kavanaugh protesters, they rage on behind him, happening on Capitol Hill. It's pretty great stuff there. Shockingly, though, the 71-year-old senator passing away over the weekend, dying from a ruptured aorta brought on by chronic heart disease. In terms of his personal life, Graham was never married or had any kids, but his modest upbringing cannot be ignored. raising his younger sister, Darlene, at the age of 20 after losing both of their parents with the span of 15 months. Legally adopting her after joining the U.S. Air Force, where he served as an active duty lawyer, retiring in 2015 as colonel. Now, Graham, one of the more prominent foreign policy hawks, advocated for military interventions in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran. He also pushed hard back against Ukraine being invaded by Russia. Now, some may not agree with all of that, but the senator was one of Trump's strongest allies in the Senate, actively helping advance key parts of his agenda, even after an initial period of criticism early on. He was the definition of a team player and went on to prove that time and time again. Drew McKissick, he's the South Carolina GOP chairman. Alan Wilson, the South Carolina Attorney General, join us both now. Pleasure, gentlemen, to have you both on. Chairman McKissick, I'm going to start with you. His story, Senator Graham, is incredible, and I feel like most people, they're just learning about it today. What happened to him, losing his parents, adopting his sister at the age of 13. She was him at 20. And to go on to have the story that he did and the life that he did, that is the American dream.
Well, truly. And I mean, he leaves behind a great legacy of service to our nation and also our state. Not only serving in the military for over 30 years, but serving in the state house, the state senate here in South Carolina, serving as a congressman from the 3rd Congressional District, going on to win the Senate seat held by Strom Thurmond. And, you know, talking about big shoes to fill, he had to fill those shoes and did well for over 20 years. And, you know, now as we look around for, you know, someone now to who would begin to fill those shoes, and that's a big conversation to have, but it leaves definitely a hole in our politics here in the state, a hole in our ticket, you know, for the party as we look toward November and, you know, having to come to grips with who to put on the top of the ticket for the Senate race. But you know, it gives us a lot to reflect on, no doubt about it.
And we're going to get into that in just a second. But first, Mr. Attorney General, I want to bring this up, show everybody how disgusting this is. The far-left host of the Young Turks, named Anna Kasparian, there she is. She posted this comment, vile, after Graham's death, writing on X, "Good riddance." And then she doubled down by responding to those who took issue with that comment, adding, "Are you offended? Let me clarify. I'm elated that he's dead, overjoyed, just like he was elated at seeing countless dead children throughout the Middle East." Your reaction to people on the left celebrating one of our senators passing away?
I'm just grateful that they're actually showing us who they truly are on the inside. They're rotten to the core. That's a disgusting thing to say. I would never say that about somebody I disagree with politically. I don't know if it's a lack of maturity, wisdom, or she's just a really bad person. But whatever it is, it's disgusting. Senator Graham will have a lasting legacy. And the further that we are removed from his death, the bigger and the larger that legacy will become. People will realize what we were missing in him as a statesman. Yes, he wasn't everyone's cup of tea. He wasn't everyone's favorite flavor. Obviously, he had strong convictions. And what I loved about him is whether you agreed with him or you disagreed with him, he would not back down. He was very, very, you know, pro-America. He loved the president. He supported the president's agenda. And this is a man that, you know, will cast a shadow over South Carolina for decades to come.
Also want to get to this, Chairman. You were talking about who comes next. We know Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene Graham Nordone. She's going to serve the remainder of the senator's term, a couple months here until the end of the year, beginning of next year. Talk about that and, you know, what that means to the people of South Carolina, also to Lindsey Graham himself.
Well, I mean, it's certainly a fitting tribute, no doubt about it. Again, you know, as you pointed out, he basically raised her. And, you know, someone who, quite frankly, demonstrated how important family is. I mean, he had the receipts to show for it. I mean, and taking that on at such a young age. But to have her now filling the rest of that term, and obviously being someone who, you know, was like-minded along with him and will take up his priorities. And you know, Lindsey would have been the first one to say it right now, the Senate has to go on. Business has to go on. And I'm sure he would wholeheartedly approve of her being in that spot, no doubt about it.
And I think he would want business to continue as well. Drew McKissick, Attorney General Alan Wilson, gentlemen, I appreciate you both coming on. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
What if I told you could get a brand new metal roof and save 50% off the installation? Our metal roofs are tested to withstand winds up to 120 miles per hour. While hail and heavy snow can destroy traditional shingles, with an Erie Home metal roof, it's no problem. And if you call now, get up to 50% off installation. Protect what matters most with a new metal roof from Erie Home. Schedule your free estimate today. Call 1-866-770-ERIE or visit eriehome.com.
Now, tirzepatide for weight management is available in a dissolvable tablet. It's not the injection and doesn't offer the same strength or clinical evidence as the injectable form, and results will differ from the injection. But for patients who don't want shots, this tablet option is worth exploring. Understanding results will differ from the injection. Tirzepatide tablets are a prescription that starts with a telehealth evaluation by a licensed physician who reviews your health history. And if it's right for you, they prescribe it. This might be worth a conversation.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Berna and my Glock. I always go for the Berna first. I've seen enough death and destruction to last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and know I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Berna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
Yeah. 2 p.m. still works great. We'll put our best guy on the job.
You said you were the best guy.
Also the sales guy.
You should check out Capitus. You can get a fast business loan and hire some help.
Customer service, please hold. Loans are complicated.
Not with Capitus. It's easy to apply and there are no hidden fees.
I got this.
Stop waiting, start growing. Get the funding you need at Capitus.com. You should probably call HR.
You're looking at HR.
My dad has never been in better shape. He had a stroke and passed away. He had a life insurance policy. Ethos.com. In 10 minutes, you can be covered with life insurance.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
Okay, welcome back in. President Trump moving to take complete control over the Strait of Hormuz, announcing that we are reimposing the blockade on Iran starting at 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. The president also declaring that we will now be the guardian of the Straits for the rest of the world. And we're going to implement a 20% fee on all cargo shipped through the vital waterway to cover security costs for our U.S. military and our safety costs. Here was the president on this earlier today.
We're putting the blockade back. And it's a blockade not for anybody but Iran. In other words, anybody doing business with Iran can't go through. Everyone else will be able to go through. So it's a blockade. It's a very strong blockade. I want to be reimbursed because we're protecting a very rich portion of the world. We're spending money. And so what we've done is we are going to be reimbursed for protection. We're protecting by the countries that we're helping.
This comes as the U.S. launching more airstrikes against Iran tonight, continuing to degrade their ability to attack civilian commercial ships. It is the third consecutive night of strikes. Targets include Iran's military, air defense systems, coastal radar sites, missile and drone capabilities, and as well as those fast, small boats. The Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Director for Counterterrorism, Sebastian Gorka, joins us now. Dr. Gorka, it's a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Bob. Always fun.
Let's talk about it. Taking back the Strait, imposing a 20% fee for safety for us to pay our costs back here. Talk about what this looks like.
Well, look, this is reality-based national security. You saw what this looks like when the president was at the NATO summit last week in Ankara. We will not be treated as the piggy bank for the rest of the world. The fact is, as he did in the first administration, now he's done it again. He has made America completely energy independent. We actually produce more energy than we need. We are the biggest exporter of energy. So the fact is, we don't need any of the oil that's coming out of the Strait of Hormuz. Guess who needs it? Other countries, including Europe. And the fact is, what we have done to stop this nuclear-tipped regime is to the benefit of very wealthy countries, Bob. And as a result, they should be able to pay the security of those ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. So this is just common sense and the end of the freeloader syndrome.
Love to hear it. Also want to get to this. I love this story because this is a promise made, promise kept here by the administration. Secretary of State Marco Rubio setting his sights on Antifa, inviting ministers from more than 60 countries to discuss the resurgence of the transnational far-left terrorism this week in Washington. Now, according to the Washington Post, the administration is weighing using counterterrorism tools to go after Antifa. They mention you by name, claiming that you've discussed using foreign terrorism labels to go after Antifa members. Deep state bureaucrats in D.C., Europe, they're all up in arms over going after this group, and you know they will be, just like the Democrats here are. Talk about what you're doing to go after Antifa.
Yeah, maybe they're afraid that their friends, the violent leftists, are finally going to be in trouble in America because only one political party has normalized violence against those they politically disagree with, whether it's my friend Charlie Cooke, killed by one of these lunatics, or the multiple attempts on President Trump's life as well, Steve Scalise, the ICE agents, on and on and on. This is a massive event. My boss, the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor, Marco Rubio, will be opening this event in D.C. with dozens and dozens of our fellow allies and partners who likewise are suffering from the scourge of the left-wing lunatics that are running ramshackle across their nations. And the bottom line is, we have real threats, and we must face them down. Whether it's the cartels under the leadership of Stephen Miller, the Homeland Security Advisor, and Secretary Mullen, whether it is the global jihadi threat that I am responsible for, like Al-Qaeda, like ISIS, or whether it's the lunatic leftists. Even left-wing organizations like the CSIS in D.C., Hardly MAGA, have admitted recently in their report that left-wing terrorism in America is on the rise. And guess what? We're going to stop it.
On the rise, it also seems like you read into some of their doctrine, Dr. Gorka, it seems like a means to an end for them, that they say that's inevitable to do what they want to do. Dr. Gorka, always a pleasure. We got to leave it there. Good to see you.
Thanks, Bob. God bless.
God bless. All right. Leftist rioters descending on Maine as a suspect is killed by ICE during an immigration operation. DHS stating the ICE officer feared for his life. We have the details next on that. Also, coming up tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, President Trump joins Greg Kelly. Reports, make sure to stick around. Stay with Newsmax, because that comes up at 9 o'clock. We're going to take a quick break.
People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
Leaf filter gutter protection helps prevent costly damage to your home, like rotting fascia, soffit, and foundation damage. But not all gutter protection is the same. Let's put them to the test. In heavy rain, these hood-style guards just can't keep up. In lighter rain, debris can flow into the gap. It's like an invitation. Don't give debris an invitation. Filter it out with Leaf Filter.
Schedule your free gutter inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
How easy is it to order lottery tickets with Jackpocket? Step 1, grab your phone. Step 2, download Jackpocket and order tickets for your favorite state lottery games. Step 3, let the good times roll.
New Jackpocket customers get $10 instantly in lottery credits when you deposit just $5.
When I started Walton Goggins goggle glasses, I didn't know how to turn all this fancy prettiness into a classy-looking logo. But GoDaddy Aero does, with its magical AI powers. It not only creates it, it slaps that sweet thing everywhere.
Hello, this is Franklin Graham. Samaritan's Purse is responding to the deadly earthquakes that struck Venezuela on the 24th of June. 2 back-to-back earthquakes. Hundreds and thousands of people have been injured. Thousands of people are missing. The people are hurting. Samaritan's Purse has taken a field hospital. We've got doctors and nurses, and we're responding right now to the people that have lost so much. We've taken water purification. We've taken solar lights, a lot of things. We need your prayers and we need your help. God bless you.
Your mouthwash routine just got a whole lot smarter. Use Smart Mouth Activated Morning Mouthwash with B12 for all-day bad breath prevention. Guaranteed. If your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. Kickstart your morning. Get Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash with B12.
All right, welcome back in. ICE under siege, this time in Biddeford, Maine. An illegal alien shot and killed during an immigration enforcement operation. ICE conducting targeted surveillance on the last known address. Now, according to DHS, an illegal attempted to flee the scene and fearing for public safety. An ICE officer fired his weapon. An investigation is still ongoing, but according to NBC, he was a Colombian national here on a work visa. Within minutes, violent leftists, they decided to show up to the scene, causing chaos, doing everything that you know they do. They even stormed an office of Maine Senator Susan Collins. This comes as a Mexican national in Texas tried to ram his vehicle into an ICE agent less than a week ago, forcing the agents to open fire on him, killing him as well. Now, according to ICE, officers were trying to pull him over when he evaded arrest. He rammed the ICE vehicle, and then he tried to run over an ICE officer, and now he's dead. Steve Robinson joins us now, editor-in-chief of the Maine Wire, along with Todd Bensman, former DHS senior advisor. Pleasure to have you both on. Steve, I'm going to start with you. So I get one of your reporters was on the scene. He was assaulted by the left riders today. They also destroyed his equipment. What are you hearing on the ground? Talk about what in the world is going on there.
Well, John Featherston was the first reporter to arrive on the scene reporting on the shooting. We heard about it early this morning. And he was assaulted several times. This is not new. The left in Maine is extremely violent. Democratic politicians will never condemn violence against journalists. In fact, Democratic politicians across the state raced to stoke the flames here. Before there was even any information out about what happened in Biddeford, they were organizing protests down there with far-left groups. And sources that we have in Biddeford said that in watching the coverage of the video of the protest, they didn't see anyone that they recognized as being from Biddeford. But it seems like we're having a redux of the Minnesota playbook. There's going to be advocacy for violence, Democratic politicians stoking violence, because they think that it's going to help them defeat Senator Susan Collins in the upcoming election.
That's so true. They think it's good form, or else they wouldn't condone it, but they do here. I also want to get to this, Todd. So far-left Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey, he's vowing to investigate and abolish ICE. Okay, I'm going to play a clip.
And another family left grieving because of Trump's thugs. We cannot be silent in the face of this corrupt criminal organization. This is domestic terrorism. We're going to hold ICE accountable. We will get justice. We need to abolish ICE now.
You know, Todd, I wonder if Lake and Riley's family agrees with that sentiment. Or how about this? If Ed Markey doesn't want ICE, Maybe anyone with a detainer for ICE can go live in his neighborhood. What do you think about that?
Well, talk about jumping to conclusions before an investigation is even underway or complete. It sounds like they have determined that ICE officers just willy-nilly went out and just murdered somebody for the fun of it. Listen, there's a context here. The number of death threats against ICE officers is up 8,000% since Donald Trump took office and started deporting again. The number of vehicle rammings are up 3,000%, and general violence as well. The context is that ICE officers are being hurt by armed assault teams all over the country, especially in blue areas. And listen, if you, I understand that the dead Colombian in this case was not the target, but that is irrelevant. If a police officer tells you to stop or jump or turn around and twiddle your thumbs or whatever, you do it. If you don't, the risk of violence and a bad outcome go way up. And I think that's what looks like what might have happened here, and we'll see what the investigation shows.
Yeah, also, too, when you try and ram them with your car, that warrants maybe some kind of type of reaction as well here. All right, Steve, Todd, we got to leave it there. Steve, our condolences to you guys. Keep doing the hard work out there, though I know you will. All right, on to this. Democrat AGs doing their best to keep CNN a Marxist propaganda network. We're going to talk about the lawsuit they're filing to keep CNN the same. That is next on News from the Left.
Another lost summer scrolling and swiping? Turns out the fix is right here. Create new lifetime memories from the comfort of your backyard. No passports, no reservations. Latham's premium handcrafted pools can be installed in weeks. Our pools won't stain or crack and never require costly resurfacing. And with our crystal finish, you can bring your favorite exotic watercolor and shimmer right to your own backyard. Visit LathamPool.com now. Latham is a proud sponsor of USA Artistic Swimming.
As history's preeminent expert on emergency communication, I fully endorse Rapid Radios. They are the only nationwide license-free push-to-talk walkie-talkies without any monthly fees.
That's right. You get access to most carriers' networks without a contract. With Rapid Radios, you can communicate. Isn't that right, George?
Darn straight. And I don't lie. That's my thing.
Now I know what you're thinking. I don't need no fancy highfalutin walkie-talkie. I've got a cell phone. Cell phones are notoriously unreliable during emergency and when you're in the middle of nowhere. Plus, rapid radios are great for remote adventures, emergency preparedness, and workplace communications, and for keeping in touch with your loved ones.
Hey, Pa. Over.
You make me so proud, son. Over. Get your family connected with Rapid Radios today.
Go to rapidradios.com and get up to 60% off today. Plus, free shipping. Rapid Radios. The best way to stay connected.
A choking death occurs every 2 hours. One child dies from choking every 5 days, and most of those children are under 3. When choking happens, time is of the essence in homes, on the street, and in restaurants everywhere. It's the first in class and only FDA-authorized anti-choking device as a second-line treatment. You can trust LifePak in a choking emergency. Please protect your family today. LifePak will be there when it matters most.
Go to lifepack.net or call 877-543-3822.
Summer is coming fast. Now you can get your best summer body in just one visit to Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist.
This summer, I'm excited to not be covered up.
I've got abs again. Sono Bello put me in the right spot to just feel good again.
I feel beautiful. I went from this to this in just one visit.
I feel confident.
Take me to your summer day.
Micro laser technology permanently removes stubborn fat, tightens and tones skin in just one visit with less downtime.
My shirts were extra large. Now I'm wearing a bathing suit. It changed my life.
There's no more frustration, just permanent results.
My stomach is gone.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 5-star reviews and expert surgeons. Call now for your personalized consultation. That's over a $250 value. Free. Easy monthly payment options make your best body more affordable than ever. Step into summer with confidence. Call Sono Bello today.
Look at her. Everything about her is awake. The body gives it away. There's a frequency to it. It's locked in. Always ready. There's something remarkable about it. When you notice it, you can't help but wonder what they're on. Something that never lets me down. Armra. I'm on it.
Every 8 minutes, a claim of sexual assault is filed against rideshare drivers.
But rideshare companies prohibit both drivers and riders from carrying firearms to protect themselves.
Imagine this banana was a less lethal device capable of incapacitating an attacker in a fraction of a second and allowing you to escape.
At Byrna, we don't sell bananas. Go to Byrna.com to find out how you can always be prepared to defend.
All right, time now for news from the left. A coalition of 12 Democratic attorneys general fighting to keep CNN a left-wing propaganda network. They have filed a lawsuit seeking to block the $110 billion merger between Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount, despite the deal already being approved by the Trump DOJ. The California Attorney General, Rob Schmitt, leading this charge, saying the unlawful merger of these two entertainment behemoths would lead to higher prices, lower quality, and less content for film and television, harming movie theaters, basic cable distributors, and ultimately audiences on every sofa and movie theater seat in the United States. Now, the legal challenge coming days after advisors close to Paramount CEO David Ellison reportedly encouraged him to reconsider relocating Paramount's headquarters outside of California, shifting as much as $30 billion in planned content spending. Mehek Cooke, attorney and political analyst, joins us now. Right here on set. Mehek, it's a pleasure. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So talk about the legal side of this, and then we'll get into them wanting to save CNN as they know it next here. But the case that they're bringing, does it have any legs, do you think?
Well, I love that you talked about the CNN part because it's all about politics today, Bob. The fact that President Trump's DOJ looked at this very carefully and reviewed it and said it was likely not to create unfair competition meant that there wasn't an antitrust component in here. Think about it today. There are massive networks like Netflix and so many other streaming organizations out there that are competing. So for Paramount and Warner Brothers to roll up their sleeves and say, let's figure out how we can compete in this new age is exactly what they were doing. And now look at who's actually suing. 11 attorney generals plus California. Do you want to guess what their politics are?
What are they?
They're all Democrats.
Oh, they're all Democrats.
I mean, think about it.
So let's talk. It's CNN. They want to save CNN as their biggest mouthpiece of
100%.
all time here, and that's really what this is about, I would assume.
Well, yeah, David Ellison basically said he wanted fair and balanced, and suddenly that was nuclear, to be fair and balanced, to deliver the news to the American people. And that's when the lawsuit started. But I got to say something. Those people that are close to him, that are pushing him to get out of California, I say do it. Tesla's out of there. There's so many companies that have left. I mean, they are getting taxed to death. Yes, the talent is moving to states like Texas and so many others that either have lower or zero income taxes.
Right.
That's where these CEOs need to move from.
You know what's crazy is I think some of the people at CNN actually think they're down the middle. They're so far skewed, they don't even know where the middle is. I've been in enough newsrooms to know this. Also want to get to this, though. Kamala Harris, as we discussed here, she gave a locker room speech to the Los Angeles Sparks, a team in the WNBA, for anyone wondering who that is. The speech, it made zero sense whatsoever, as hers typically do. Here is some of it.
And you are having an incredible impact. I travel our country. Young girls, boys, people of every gender, background, race, watch the W. You guys are impacting people who you may never meet, people who may never know your names or mine. Together on three. One, two, three. Together!
You also know yesterday was the day before today, right? And tomorrow is the day after today. How did she make it so far, huh? With sound bites like that?
Well, it's cultural politics. She walked into the safest room in America, which is a women's basketball game. But the one thing she won't tell women is boys don't belong in girls' sports, right? So she's doing this whole dance about the presidential nomination by going to safe places where the culture will accept her before the politics.
Hence why she got hammered in swing states, because they took one look at her and said, yeah, no thanks with the million-foot pole here. Mehek Cooke, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Coming up, Mick Jagger. He has a message for woke musicians. I like the sound of that. Stick with us.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finity, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Do you know which investment has outperformed almost every other asset class since the beginning of last year? And that Goldman Sachs research is now forecasting to reach further heights. That's right, it's gold. Central banks around the world continue to buy gold at record levels due to economic turmoil, foreign conflicts, and a weakening U.S. economy plagued by debt. If you're concerned how to protect yourself as our financial system weakens, our team at Swiss America has a solution. For over 40 years, we've helped people just like you purchase precious metals for home delivery and for your IRAs. Don't miss out before this next big price jump. Call or text Swiss America at the number on your screen to receive your free portfolio review and a copy of The Timeless Truth About Gold and Silver. Let us show you how easy it is to safeguard your money. Call or text Swiss America today.
There's no way a mouthwash can prevent bad breath for 12 hours.
You're right, Val. Mouthwash can't, but this is dentist-developed Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash.
Activated?
Yeah, if your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. See, this plus this activate for 12 hours of bad breath prevention, guaranteed. Try it. You won't have bad breath in the morning. Good night, Phil.
Get dentist-developed Smart Mouth today. It's the smarter mouthwash, available at these fine retailers.
This is an important message for victims of asbestos exposure. Even if you smoked, if you or a loved one were diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer or any of the diseases listed on your screen, call the Victims Justice Group now. You may be entitled to significant money damages. Many workers were unknowingly exposed to dangerous asbestos fibers in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. If you or a loved one served in the Navy or other armed forces, or worked in any of the industries or trades listed on your screen, and were diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer or any of these asbestos-related diseases. Even if you smoked, call our asbestos exposure helpline now. The attorneys and staff working with Victims Justice Group have decades of experience and fully understand the complexities of filing a claim to get you the maximum payment for your pain and suffering, securing over $1 billion for mesothelioma and asbestos victims and their families. There are strict deadlines to file a claim.
Call 1-800-875-0978 now.
I'm not a part of a MAGA agenda. Now, I know my ladies in the crowd love their body. Real hot girls. And if you want to keep loving your body, you know who to vote for.
Around the world is currently in the hands of a corrupt, incompetent, racist, reckless, and treasonous administration.
What I don't understand is how that Megan Thee Stallion performance didn't put Kamala over the top. Like, that should have put her in the White House, right? Because we care about what she has to say. Leftist musicians can't help but let their TDS get the best of them. Green Day, as we showed you, Bruce Springsteen has just wrote some horrible songs lately. Other woke performers using their concerts to trash the presidents. Rolling Stones rock legend Mick Jagger, he took a different approach, believing concerts should be an escape from the world's problems, from your problems, your life. Take a listen.
My job in the live music world is just those people that come is to have the best time they possibly can, and for 2 hours or whatever it is, to forget all their problems and the problems of the world. You're not worrying about everything else. You know, those things are out of your mind, and you don't want to lecture them.
Tell you what, Rob, I like the sound of that, right?
Guy looks great. 82 years old. Mick Jagger.
You know, when I go out sometimes, I try and mimic his dance moves.
I do. Well,
how do you think that?
Yeah.
For some reason, it doesn't work. Works for Mick Jagger, doesn't work for me.
Well, you do have moves like Jagger. He is a British citizen, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm glad to hear him say that. He's the opposite of Bruce Springsteen, so that's a good thing.
Yes, that is good.
All right, Robbie. Good to see you.
Rob, you the man.
Bobby. Finity starts right now.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.